Well, I guess I will record this episode, which is rare. I haven't officially launched this yet. All of these are sort of pre-launch podcasts that are just done sparingly and randomly when something comes up, but I don't really know what else to do right now, and crying incessantly doesn't seem to be the best, most productive thing to do. This is about Charlie Kirk being assassinated yesterday. At this moment, I'm going to be very technical. We don't know who did it, we don't know, and therefore we don't know why. Technically. I think it's obvious what the reason probably is, but, let me give you all the things I've heard online, okay, from one extreme to the other, just in case some of these thoughts have never even entered your head because you're a normal person. Trump did it in order to distract from the Epstein files and encourage voting at the midterms. I'm serious. I've seen it online. Then there is, of course, that it was done by somebody that has no political motivation and it was just totally random or personal or something. Then there's the obvious assumption that it's political. Then there's the transgender lunatic type person idea. And the one that seems most likely to me and therefore bothers me the most also, not therefore, but also bothers me the most, is that it's something professional. Because the Hitman vibe feels it was such a one specific shot that it just looked like it was done by a sniper. Cenk Uygur made this point that random people, randos as he called it, would have shot multiple times and be scared and all that, and this looked like a professional hit. In which case you wonder if it's somebody backed by some, nefarious international political entity or something. I don't know. I've become acclimated now to the idea of never finding out the truth about anything, because the Butler shooting of Trump, I mean, there are people I know that think that it's all fake, or Trump set it up, which, even if that were true, it wouldn't exactly answer any questions about how. I don't think that's what happened. And then there are people that, think it's something more complicated. Then there are those, of course, that just believe the surface explanation. But the surface explanation that some guy that no one ever heard of, not randomly, but let's say did it for political reasons, and that he was able to get away with, getting that close off of a roof, directly, catty cornered there from the president, and this person also apparently from a roof facing, and I'm not really satisfied with the details of, or I haven't heard, I guess, the details of who the person is supposed to be and whatever. And of course there's people that say, oh, he was a Republican, and then it's like it's a double swerve, it's a double, triple, reverse, underground, upside down swerve, and all this bullshit. And then, then you think, well, if it's all fake or a swerve or whatever, what about the guy that died? Is that fake too? Oh no, he was just killed as a necessary, casualty of war by people. I mean, you can just go on and on with this shit. And the problem is that the obvious answer, the one that everybody wants to believe, the one that, that's the division we have now, is between the conspiracy theorists, which are becoming less conspiracy theoristy and more normal. Like I had a bad vibe about the effects on me personally of the vaccine, so I didn't take it. And I'm fine. I was fine the whole time. I never got it, and everything seems to be fine now. What the hell does that mean? It's anecdotal. Other people tell me, well, my uncle, my cousin, my friend is in the hospital. Well, maybe people are going to die anyway. I don't know. Who knows? And now they're looking at all these side effects and stuff. The VAERS, VAERS site for all vaccine-related injuries. I mean, what I'm saying is that I become acclimated to not knowing the truth about anything. I mean, Sirhan, you go back, Bobby Kennedy, RFK, everything has an opening. I mean, I understand conspiratorial theories are intriguing, but that doesn't make them automatically wrong. And when the surface seems questionable, then it's reasonable that people would go, yeah, but that seems a little bit fishy or awfully convenient. And maybe it is the surface answers to all these things, which is not really any kind of comfort, if that's the case. Recently, we have stacked that on top of the apparently schizophrenic guy stabbing that woman in the train, and then prior to that, people celebrating Luigi for killing that insurance man on the street, and then people jumping on it to go, well, it's not a good thing, but it's kind of what you expect. No, it's not what you expect. The fuck is wrong with you? People talk like, he had it coming, or his karma, or that's what you get when you spread hate. Excuse me. That's not what you get when you spread hate. That's what you get when you define the words that are said by other people as hate. You're the one causing the problem. It's in your ears, not in the person speaking. It's in your hearing. And you're hearing someone saying something like, being gay is a choice and it's a sin, and you define that as hate speech. Well, that's your problem, because that's not how it was intended. That's not what's meant. And I'm gay. Okay, I'm gay, and I know I can hear people that believe that sincerely. And you can call it a banana, you can call it hate speech, you can call it whatever you want. The fact that you feel hated by that is your trauma, that's your PTSD, that's your problem, okay? But there are people that say that, especially people in their 20s, okay, that didn't live through your gay bashing of the 1980s. So they didn't come from that mindset. You are stuck in that mindset. That's, again, your problem. If you've been raped and somebody makes a rape joke, and then you go off the deep end and you say they're spreading hate, well, no, that's your problem. You're the one that has that particular issue, okay? And the world is not going to walk eggshells around your sensibilities. Sorry. Especially when you understand the intention, right? The intention when people are saying what they're saying matters. And it should be taken into account, not just make it all about you. Well, this is how it makes me feel. Who gives a flying fuck? What about how they meant to make you feel? What about their intention? What about why they're saying it? What about their point? What about the context of what's being said? That also matters, okay? If you're so fragile that, someone disagrees with you or says, I think that's bad, you go, oh, it's hate speech, you're traumatizing me, well, then you're just neurotic, okay? There's two sides to something. If something bothers you, maybe the thing that was said is something that shouldn't be said. Or maybe you're just the kind of person that can't have those things said to you because something's wrong with you. That's also possible, okay? It's also possible that the person hearing things and it makes them feel ostracized and hated and everything else, that they have a problem. That's also possible. And if that's the case, it's not everyone else's job to know that, read your mind, and then not speak what they believe. And that's not the same thing as somebody calling for the killing of people. Calling for the killing of an ideology is not the same as calling for the killing of people. Saying about your political opponents, they're crazy, they're out of control, is not a call to have them murdered, and it's not the same. There is no equivalence between that. Man, back in the old days when these guys would come in here and try to stir up trouble, they'd take him out back and beat him up. It's not the same thing as assassinating somebody from a sniper's position on the roof across the way. That's not the same, okay? If you're so sensitive that any kind of rough language immediately becomes combined in your head with murder and assassination, then you're a very fragile, insane, edged person. That means you're already insanity adjacent anyway. And that idea, well, there's people on the edge that could hear it and take it the wrong way. Yeah, there are. So what? Then everyone has to adapt their speech to the lowest common denominator? We have to say or not say things that may or may not trigger the most insane people in society and account for them I don't think so. The other aggravating part is mental health. We have a mental health. Excuse me. Okay. Everything is not about healthcare. Everything is not about an indirect shot at the government going, well, you know, it's the government cutting funding for mental health resources. First of all, the government doesn't owe you anything with regards to mental health resources, number one. You're owed nothing from anybody. Okay? That's the first thing. Okay? Strictly speaking, the government owes you nothing. Not food stamps, not Medicare, not Medicaid, not Social Security. Owes you nothing. And don't even tell me, oh, I put that money in. No, actually you didn't. That's not actually what's happening. Actually what's happening is Social Security money is being borrowed from others to pay you. So you took out more than you put in, by the way, just as an aside. But don't want to get too sidetracked. The broad idea is the government owes you nothing. Life owes you nothing. The world owes you nothing. Okay? The government, this particular government, owes you the right to be able to be allowed to go pursue. You go pursue with your own limited resources and your fucked up upbringing and the unfair beginning you had and the fact that, like, my parents are immigrants and poor and that's not fair because the other people weren't. That doesn't fucking matter. Life isn't supposed to be fair, and the government's job is not to make it fair for you. Okay? Grow the fuck up. That's not their job. The government's job is to get out of your way. That is it, and that is all. It is to allow you at a very fundamental level to go pursue happiness, liberty, and be left the fuck alone and not be oppressed. That's the role of this particular government. This particular government is not a DMV, okay, where you walk up and go, here's my needs. Motherfuck your needs. This government is about you go handle yourself and we'll get out of your way. Now, there are some specifics and certain rights that are, you know, given, like you should be judged by your peers. Debtor's prison was gotten rid of. You shouldn't be thrown in jail without having rights to be indicted and charged, assuming, of course, that you are a proper citizen in the first place, because if you're not, that's a different matter. But if you are a citizen, okay, that is behaving properly and is a normal American citizen, all your papers in order, you didn't just break in, okay, you didn't murder someone and then demand rights because you kicked the door in and shouldn't be in the country in the first place. No. If you're a regular citizen, then you have certain rights. But they're very simple. They're not very complicated. There's not that many of them. They're numbered, okay? The whole notion is minimalism. It's minimal government. That's the whole idea of the country. So you aren't owed a mental health checkup by the government to see, are you okay? How are you feeling this weekend? The fuck? What? That's not the government's job. $0 can go to mental health in this country, and there will be no violation of your civil rights. You don't have a right to the care from other people to see how you're feeling. Good God, man, that was supposed to be your job with your family. And maybe if you had a nuclear family, you wouldn't have that problem happening so much. But since everyone comes from a broken home, well, that's still not the government's problem. Eventually, it's made to be the government's problem when you have 8 children and you can't afford to go to work, because if you do, who's going to watch your children? All you're going to do is go to work and use that money to pay the babysitter. So basically, at some point, the government has to fund and pay for the kids that you had. And then that's not about, I thought you were pro-kid. The kids shouldn't exist. I'm not pro or anti-kid. I'm pro or anti-opening your legs. That's the problem. You're creating problems literally. And this is directed at everybody that believes that the problem to that the solution to every single problem is government didn't spend enough money. The guy's got a mental health problem. We have to spend more money on mental health. No, we need to have less allowance for the violence that's committed by people who are mentally ill. That's what we need to do. So one of the previous 14 times that guy committed some crime, I don't know how serious they were, I don't know. Maybe they were all petty, maybe he stole gum 14 times. I doubt it, but I don't know, I haven't looked it up. I should have. Yeah, well, after this. But at some point, And he's just, an example, but it happens very often that the recidivism rate is very high. And since the government is not going to hold your hand and counsel you because of your mental health being all fucked up for whatever reason, then maybe what the government needs to do is when you commit a crime, take you away from society where you can't harm other people with your poor, it wasn't your fault mental health that you don't have enough money to have fixed by therapists, or you can't afford your medications or whatever. Because I'm not going to get into the thing of like, well, the government wouldn't give you money for medication, so I went off the deep end and killed somebody. It's the government's fault. No, sorry. Here's a brutal concept from the government's perspective. Are you ready? It's your fault that you're schizophrenic. How about that? How about that's your problem? How do you like that one? In other words, no, you didn't make yourself schizophrenic necessarily, although some choices that people make at certain young ages do tend to aggravate a predilection for schizophrenia, by the way, like young, constant, obsessive use of marijuana, but these are minor details. Aside from that, even if the condition that you're in is entirely not your fault, guess what? It's still your responsibility. When something's not your fault, it's still your responsibility. I'll say it one more time. Not your fault, still your responsibility. You know why? Because if it's not your responsibility, then whose the fuck responsibility is it? It's not mine. I have to take care of you because you're an idiot? Because you have mental problems, so that falls on me? I don't think so. I think it falls on you. After a certain age, you're an adult, you're a sick adult, you're a mentally ill adult, you're a mentally ill adult that because you're mentally ill can't tell you're mentally ill. Okay, fine. It's still not my responsibility. It just isn't. Now, do you want it to be collective? Have government this or that? Well, that's why we have jails. That's why Trump is talking about bringing back insane asylums. Fine, but that needs to be a group, big thing, not my sending you a check every month, and did you take your medicine, and did you inject your thing, and for the love of God, man, if you harm other people for any reason, okay, whether you got drunk and then didn't know what you were doing, or you're mentally ill, or whatever, then you need to be taken away from being able to harm other people, because now your freedom, which is precious, which should never be taken away from anybody cavalierly, is no longer something you get to have because you're taking away other people's freedoms. And I don't mean talking or language. I mean you are killing them. That's taking away their freedom. Therefore, your freedom is taken away. And if the reason that you did it was because reasons, you weren't treated well, you didn't get your medication, someone pissed you off, whatever, I don't care. Okay? It doesn't matter. There are identifiable, justifiable reasons for violence, such as self-defense. But when it falls outside of the justifiable reasons, mitigating circumstances, then you did it, whether you did it with intention, without intention, that matters. That's why we have different degrees of convictions, different degrees of punishments. But if you're harming other people for any fucking reason, whether it's mentally ill or not, you need to be removed from society. Okay? That's just very, very simple. That part. Then you can decide what to do about it or whatever else. But this reflexive idea that, we have a mental health crisis in this country. By the way, here's the other problem with that broad brush. When you say that, you're commingling evil. What about evil? Do we have an evil problem in this country? Are some people just fucking evil? Is everything mental illness? Does anyone have any agency at all? Can anyone be held responsible for anything? Or will you just say, well, if you do something bad, if you commit a crime, you are by definition mentally ill, and therefore, if I'm going to call it a mental illness, that means I'm in the healthcare category, which means now we are morally and ethically making no distinction between the person who has cancer and the person who murders someone because they didn't take their pills. They're both just victims of healthcare. Let's blame the Republicans for gutting Obamacare. There's no personal responsibility. It's your fault that you behaved the way you did. And if you are unable to care for yourself, then it's your family's fault for not caring for you. And if you have no family, then it falls on you. And if you are unable to do it for yourself, then that's why you have jails, insane asylums, and so forth. It is not the priority of the government to see to your every need, like food. Is everyone hungry? Anybody hungry? So the government now has to feed everyone? The government is already involved in feeding people, in housing people, in finding people work, in health care, in subsidizing almost everything. What in the hell? The whole concept is you are an individual. So you are responsible for yourself. The only thing you're asked to do is let people pursue life, liberty, and happiness. And when I say let, I don't mean by disagreeing with how people live their lives. You're allowed to do that, like Charlie Kirk was doing. By let, I mean don't kill them. I don't mean calling for their death indirectly. I don't mean calling for eradicating their philosophy. That's not killing people. I mean literally killing a human being. That's distinct and different. And what's happened is these leftist lunatics have conflated that, Luigi killing the insurance guy, with, well, the other side's very hateful. They say hateful things. That's not the same thing. It just isn't. Okay? And if it lands in the mind of a person that cannot distinguish between those two things and they're triggered to do these murders, that doesn't make the speaker at fault. It makes the person who heard that and was triggered at fault. Here's what I'll end with. You are responsible, maybe not at fault for having created them, maybe you are, maybe not, but you are responsible for your triggers. The things that trigger you are your responsibility. And don't give me, well, I'm so triggered that I can't manage my triggers. Fuck off. Okay? If you have no agency at all, ever, it's like saying, well, I was drunk, I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, but you chose to get drunk. Okay? All these people that we're talking about are not all extreme cases of Down syndrome. Okay? Give me a break. And even when people do actually have Down syndrome, and RFK Jr. tried to speak up to help people with autism, rather, you know, people got offended at that. How dare you suggest that autistic people have a problem? There's nothing wrong with being autistic. They're just neurodivergent. Okay. The point is that regardless, you are responsible for your own life. Unless you are in such an unbelievably extreme state. You're in a coma, okay? You know, you have a severe case of mental retardation. That's just extreme. And it's interesting, because when you see people work with those that are, in fact, mentally retarded, you know they have standards for people like that. They work at jobs, and they still expect them to do their best within their own capacity. So even at that extreme, there are standards. There's definitely standards for crybabies whose feelings are hurt by someone expressing their opinion and feel that they have to go get a gun and murder somebody, and then people respond to that by going, well, there's no mental health money. No. Some behavior is just evil. You knew what you were doing. You're not mentally unhealthy enough not to know. And the reason you did it is because you're evil. There is such a thing as evil. There is such a thing as agency. Not everything is a social problem. You fucking faggots that turn everything into a fucking funding issue. Grow up and allot people their agency. Okay? People are responsible for their behavior, and the behavior in killing someone is the problem. It is not speaking. If I'm responsible for my words and I get shot in the head for it, you cannot say, well, you're responsible for your speaking. You know, it doesn't come without consequences. No. But actually, by that logic, then when you shot me, I should be able to shoot you, right? And to have someone shoot you, and then my family goes after your family, and it goes on and on forever, and it never fucking ends, because it never should have come to physical violence in the first place, and that's something else we've normalized nowadays. The idea of like, well, you know, people are getting too comfortable, keyboard warriors on the street, I have to punch them. That's the fucking point, isn't it? people should be able to be comfortable saying whatever they want. Use your words. Violence is the last resort. It is a resort of a coward and of someone who cannot win with their mind. So they have to reduce everything to the lowest common thing. Grow up.